I want to hear your take on that. Give us a little perspective on what that Paula Deen TV shows, I think, was a hashtag. Does it cross the line in terms of, and I've been making jokes, and some friends have said to me, you're a white dude. This isn't funny.
Yeah.
If you were the target of this, you might be a little bit more sensitive about it. So where does it cross the line? Obviously, racism is really serious, and it's still really prevalent. So
I'm going to take this from the point where I was saying Food Network was concerned about the audience reaction. And part of the problem with using Twitter in this context to measure the audience reaction to Paula Deen's situation is that there are a lot of jokes out there. Paula Deen TV shows, Paula Deen's recipes, Paula's best dishes. And as a result of these hashtags, people are just jumping on trying to be funny. So we're getting things like Paula Deen TV shows, The Amazing White Race, or The Amazing Racist, or 2 3/5 Men, which I think is really amazing. And I won't even mention some of the recipes because they appropriate the N-word into the recipe names. But the bottom line is there is this point at which you have to assess, is this really the audience reacting in a way that would hurt Paula Deen's viewership and justify Food Network's decision from a business perspective, or is this people jumping on to a funny hashtag at the expense of Paula Deen?
Valentina, you're someone who has roots in another country. Your mom is from Chile, and I believe you spent time in Austria. So you've got an international perspective on this. I mean, we've got a couple minutes left. Does this seems uniquely American to me. Mm-hmm. This manner of and for better and for worse, really, and a lot of times for better, that there's a real sensitivity to racial issues, at least in the public sphere, in terms of media figures, and that's taken decades to build up, mm-hmm. and a willingness to come down hard on people for it in this kind of swift way. Does that have a parallel in any of the countries that you're familiar with, Austria, Chile, and if so, do you think it's a positive thing?
I think they're not quite there yet in Austria, which is where I grew up. I think immigration is much newer there. It's not like the United States that was founded on immigrants. There's a lot of groups, Turkish, Moroccan, North African, and other groups that have sort of recently come in the 80s and late 70s. And so to be outwardly racist is still a thing. And it's not necessarily explained away or forgiven or anything like that, but people, even in power, in power positions, will say things where your eyes bulge and you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that person just said that. So I think, even though in the United States, I think we've come a long way, we still have a long way to go because, as I said before, it's never acceptable to use the N-word. So.
And I would say, and I think that's a very valuable perspective, and I appreciate that. And I would say I share some of the feelings of my friend Zed Jelani, who's a blogger and a resident, a native of Georgia himself. His parents are immigrants from Pakistan, I believe, who took to Twitter yesterday and essentially said he was calling, I think, for dialogue and forgiveness. And also, and I would say that regardless of that, and I'm not crying any tears over Paula Deen, I wish that we could summon this kind of swift reaction about some of the more institutional embedded racial problems we have in this country, and none is larger, quite frankly, than our criminal justice system and the fact that we lock up some nearly 800,000 people every year for marijuana possession or marijuana-related crimes, and they are 8-to-1 more likely to be black or, as the case may be, in some cases Latino, but certainly especially black. And there is just about nothing that hurts black people more than, at least institutionally, than that policy. And so get us a good hashtag on that and some swift action, but I just don't think it works that way, unfortunately. When we come back, we're going to round out the show with my little How It Should Be segment, a little bit of a rant as always. Gonna want to hear this. So stay tuned when Take Action News continues and completes after this.